Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Multiverse of Mayhem. I'm KT. So recently, we did a deep dive into the evolution of Batman on screen over the years. If you haven't seen that one yet, go and check it out right here. But one of our amazing subscribers, Darren Weber, called us out in the comments. And you know what? He was absolutely right. We completely overlooked what might be one of the most fascinating and underrated portrayals of Bruce Wayne ever put to screen. Iain Glen's version in HBO's Titan series. And honestly, after diving back into this performance, I'm kicking myself for missing it. When it was announced that Iain Glen, yes, Jorah Morant from Game of Thrones, would be playing Bruce Wayne in Titan Season 2, fans were confused. This wasn't your typical Hollywood Bruce Wayne casting, even as a older Ben Affleck, slightly gray-haired Bruce Wayne casting. Glen doesn't fit the cookie-cutter model at all that we've come to expect from previous Batmen. And that's exactly why showrunner Greg Walker said Glen was perfect for the role. Walker explained that when he looks at Glen, he sees a guy who has lived and who's been through a lot. This isn't the pristine billionaire playboy we're used to. This is a Bruce Wayne who's been broken down by decades of fighting crime. Glen portrays a Bruce Wayne who's been active as Batman for potentially 30 years. He's faced countless rogues, mentored multiple Robins, and the weight of it all is written across his face. This is psychological realism meets superhero storytelling in the most compelling way. Now here's where Titans gets really bold, and this is something no other Batman adaptation has ever done. The show actually gives Bruce Wayne a clinical psychological diagnosis, borderline personality disorder. Now let's let that sink in for a moment. Dr. Leslie Tompkins, Jason Todd's therapist, explicitly states that Bruce has borderline personality disorder, characterized by difficulty managing emotions, unstable relationships, and suddenly all of Bruce's complicated relationships with his Robins make perfect psychological sense. Glen masterfully portrays this duality. He really does seem like a completely different person when he's Bruce versus when he's operating in Batman mode. The show suggests that Bruce Wayne isn't just a mask for Batman, it's a manifestation of a genuinely fractured psyche. It's inconceivable that this broken man could be the legendary Dark Knight, and that's what makes Glen's performance so brilliant. What's fascinating is that Glen brings this vulnerability and introspection to the role that we've never seen before. This Bruce is exhausted, world-weary, but still trying to do right by the people he cares about, even if he doesn't know how. One of the strongest aspects of Glen's portrayal is how Titans explores the most comics-accurate depiction of the Batman-Robin relationship we've ever seen on live screen, and it's disturbing in the best possible way. The show doesn't shy away from uncomfortable truth. Here's a grown man who brings children into his war on crime and turns them into soldiers for his personal vendetta. Glen's Bruce genuinely cares about Dick and Jason, but his methods are questionable at best. With Dick, we see the aftermath of his relationship. Dick describes Bruce as a borderline psychopath and admits he had to leave just because he was becoming too much like him. With Jason, Bruce tries to do better, pushing him into therapy and eventually benching him when he realizes Jason's trauma is getting worse. The tragic irony is that Bruce's decision to protect Jason by benching him ultimately leads to Jason seeking validation elsewhere, which results in his death. Glen plays this guilt beautifully, and you can see the weight of every decision in his performance. Now here's where things continue to get complicated. Titans suffers from what fans call Bat embargo. Warner Brothers rule that Batman can't actually appear in costume on screen in TV shows. This means Glen's Bruce can never suit up as Batman, which severely limits what he can do as the character. The writers have to constantly come up with excuses for why Bruce won't help the young Titans, which sometimes makes his character act out of character. In season 3, they literally have him leave Gotham entirely, which frustrates fans who wanted to see more of Glen's compelling portrayal. But when the show does get creative with this limitation, magic happens. There's an entire episode where Bruce appears as a manifestation of Dick's subconscious, taunting him and offering him sarcastic commentary. Glen even performs the Bat-You-See dance from the 1960s series in a burlesque club, and it's completely bonkers and absolutely brilliant. Now, the tragedy of Glen's Bruce Wayne is that he could have been the definitive version of the character if he'd been allowed to reach his full potential. Glen has the gravitas, the psychological complexity, and the acting chops to deliver what many consider could have been the best Bruce Wayne ever put to screen. Honestly, comparing this aged, deeply weathered Batman against Ben Affleck's Snyderverse version, I'm even more disappointed as to how this role could have been played. Glen brings the same intensity and complexity to Bruce Wayne that he brought to Jorah Mormont in Game of Thrones. This is a prestige television actor elevating superhero material to psychological drama levels. His Bruce Wayne feels real, lived in, and genuinely damaged in what makes perfect sense for someone who's spent 30 years fighting an impossible war. Glen's portrayal matters because a deep, raw expression of Bruce Wayne treated as a real person with real psychological consequences for his choices we have barely seen. While other actors have given us the action hero, the detective, the tortured soul, Glen gives us the broken father figure, still trying to do right by his kids. The relationship between Glen's Bruce and Dick Grayson is some of the most emotionally honest superhero television ever produced. It acknowledges that being raised by Batman would have been traumatic, while still showing the genuine love between them. Unfortunately, Titans ended after 4 seasons and will likely never see Glen's Bruce Wayne again, but his portrayal deserves to be remembered as one of the most psychologically complex and realistic takes on the character ever attempted. So huge thanks to Darren Weber for pointing out this glaring omission. What do you think about Iain Glen's Bruce Wayne? Do you think he could have been the definitive version if given more freedom? And what other underrated superhero performances have we missed and do we need to check in on and do a deep dive? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think. And don't forget, if you're digging what we're doing here at Multiverse of Mayhem, give us a subscribe, watch our videos. Much appreciated for all the love. But until next time, be blessed, take care of each other, and we'll see you then.